We are done with the Yango.
Oh, no, I haven't finished with Yango. Yango, please call me because we're about to have beef here.
Mademoiselle, bonjour.
Bonjour, ça va?
Oui, ça va et toi?
Ça va bien?
Ça va bien, tu vas bien?
Oui, oui.
Ok, dis-moi,
merci.
comment passe le week-end?
All right, enough.
Dis-moi,
I faked it long enough.
chérie, dis-moi, comment passe le week-end?
It was a very nice weekend.
Ah oui, oui. Nice, nice.
No, I'm totally lying. We are still on Saturday, so we've not had a weekend per se.
I must say, we look absolutely gorgeous.
We're
in
looking
white.
good today.
We look good.
White is our color.
Yes.
Uh,
White is our color. And the tech, you move, the thing follows you. We're on point. Podcasting with new tech is really good.
it is.
So to start off this weekend's podcast, why don't we run through 3 stories that we think trended very well or made headlines? One or two might be irritating. One of them is definitely important to talk about. So let's start with the remarks by Dr. Alex Ngoma. I think he's a former lecturer at the University of Zambia.
What did he have to say for himself?
I will read what he said, what has been reported that he had said. Political analyst Dr. Alex Ngoma is urging Zambians to prioritize human life, pointing out the need for swift medical attention when someone falls ill. This comes after former President Lungu expressed concerns on his Facebook page about the current political leaders having abandoned rival politicians and state crisis. The whole sentence doesn't make sense to me.
It's a little bit.
Yeah. Dr. Ngoma stresses that life is unpredictable and timely medical care can be the difference between life and death.
Okay.
I think you can rant now.
I like you said, I think it's a bit of a rubbish headline per se. I mean, prioritizing human life, who doesn't? I think we all prioritize our lives, our children's lives, our own lives, our partner's lives, But it's the whole connection to the Lungu thing here. What was Lungu expressing on his Facebook page? The current state of political leaders have abandoned rival politicians and state crisis. What does that mean?
Well, it's a selfish kind of looking at things that if things are not good, forget about the differences you have in the political circles and attend to ailing politicians.
So you're saying that the current government should have been attending to someone who was sick? Who?
Well, the man wrote on his page. We don't know
Is
it
it
wasn't
implying
specific
himself
whether
or-
it was referring to himself or somebody else or others, because there's a whole bunch of former PF leaders who are in hospitals. There's like a whole wagon of them.
I find it a strange one because for me, like back in the day, I don't know if you remember, they all used to go to South Africa for their medical checkups, their operations, or the UK. They could afford to go abroad, but those who were here in the country had to use the services that were available. Since we don't improve our medical services here,
Political analyst Alex Ngoma is urging Zambians to prioritize human life, pointing out the need for swift medical attention when someone falls ill. Should this man simply say, take care of our politicians? Is that what he's trying to say?
it's saying nothing but trying to say something. Or is he saying that the emergency services, once people have arrived at hospital, are not good enough? And say what you need to say.
The statement is very ambiguous.
Yeah.
Okay, and then marrying it to the comments of President Lungu also just throws it off the chart.
Yeah.
What I think should be prioritized is medical facilities in the country.
Yes.
Okay, if you've seen that over the last 10 years, this is how much we've lost because of evacuating political leaders, okay, who are sick And when we know that now it's at a bad stage, we need to evacuate them, we are going to throw money at them. And I'm not trying to sound bad here, it's just a fact. Okay? These are people who are given priority over others, especially people you know have looted the country, have really done nothing positive for the country other than be political mongrels.
They looted, but then we must then also make sure that they get the services that they messed up.
Exactly. If you are failing to sort out your medical side, the cancer center, the money they spend, they misappropriate on other things during the course of their term in government. If that money can be utilized properly and invested in these medical facilities, we will not be having these
We
issues.
would have a good medical service
Yes.
available to our politicians as well as the people.
Well, first the people and the politicians, because the people put the politicians in power.
100%.
So let's be careful in how we start making statements of such nature, because at the end of the day, that politician will not have any power without your vote, without my vote.
100%.
All right? He can't put himself in power unless we decide he's a guy who's going to guide us. He's the one who's going to steer the ship. So in this case, I'll give the comments by Dr. Alex Ngoma not a very good rating.
I mean, please, you are a doctor and that's how you write. Please expand your vocabulary.
Political analyst.
He's a doctor, Dr.
Yes.
Alex.
Yes. He's a very good gentleman. I was talking to him. He's very analytical, but I just don't know. So, two things. One thing that you talk about all the time, whether the reporting was just crap, what he said could have been lost in translation, or he actually said these words.
Yeah.
I have no idea. You have no idea. But the general context is understood very well right now. We will not prioritize politicians over the general citizenry.
100%.
It is wrong to do that, and we must stop now. The money that is spent on sending 50 people to India for cancer treatment, let's invest that money back into our own medical facilities and we'll be all right. Yeah. So any last words before we move on to the next story?
No, I think it would be nice to have a government that comes in that you can actually say, you know, our health system has been improved and it's quantifiable. And we can have, you know, the death numbers have gone down. People who check into hospital check out a lot sooner.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we need to start talking about. You know, where are the improvements? Not we must prioritize human life. We've always prioritized it. Now prioritize hospital care. Prioritize medication going to people on time. Prioritize operation rooms being clean, well looked after. Prioritize aftercare.
Yeah. Well, pay the medical personnel good money. They'll work better as well. Okay, let's move on to something that's very dear to you, using common speak.
Oh,
Yeah.
what's that?
There's a story that has got a bearing on what we discussed last week. Picking up on the issue regarding the rantings and ravings of the Justice Minister in Parliament regarding men going to look for women her size instead of for the, you know, what they've been doing.
We're here for you.
Yeah. The women's lobby has praised the report that I want to read. It says that the women's lobby has praised the Zambia police for the swift action taken in arresting 3 women for attempting to bribe the police officers. This English. All right. Women's lobby.
We need to pass this through ChatGPT before we do this.
I swear. I swear.
It's like, can you say this so we can read it and it makes sense?
Women's lobby has praised the Zambia police for the swift action taken in arresting 3 women for attempting to bribe police officers to secure the freedom of their husband who defiled their 10-year-old daughter. This comes after 3 women were arrested for attempting to bribe police officers with 4,800 kwacha to illegally secure a release for their husband who defiled his 10-year-old daughter and infected her with HIV. You can shoot.
This is just sad. There's so many levels. First of all, polygamous relationship.
Yep.
Secondly, pedophile. But also your own daughter.
Biological child.
It's disgusting. It's just absolutely disgusting. And okay, I know in this, also this is another issue with Zambia, right? The focus is on the women who are trying to bribe. So the bigger thing here, the story is the bribery, not the defilement of the 10-year-old of his own child.
No.
You know?
Absolutely not.
So it's on so many levels. It's a really sad story. I don't have an issue with the fact that, yes, okay, they've exposed the bribery and so on. But something has to be done about this sleeping with your own children. You know, like we need, seriously, the government needs to focus on an educational piece around, you know, it's not even defiling, sleeping with your own child, you know, having sexual intercourse with your own child. It's disgusting.
So I want to say something. So if this man infected her with HIV, it means these women are definitely
Also,
not well.
yeah. Yeah. Do you know where they were located?
Must have been Kawata police,
Okay.
but I don't know which area they come from. I suspect it was Kawata police because I vaguely remember that story veered towards the area of where the offense was committed. Being
Three men,
Three
women defending this dumbass man of a husband.
So you can imagine, one of those women is the biological mother
Yeah.
of that girl.
Yeah. And
Who
she's
was
one of
convinced.
the ones
Yeah.
bribing.
Convinced by the other two, we need to go and get our husband out of jail. It's okay, they can keep the kid or whatever happens, but we need our husband back.
Yeah, she's already been defiled. She's already got HIV.
Does this mean that the deterrence factor is not even considered here?
Yeah. I
wonder, what would you recommend happen to these women?
I think they also need castrating. No, they're horrible women. I really don't understand where some women lose their maternal instincts, that they think it's okay that the man you are sleeping with should also sleep with a young child. I don't know where they think that that's okay.
I wonder if there's not that what they did was justified in any way. I'm just thinking now, is there a bigger story behind it?
I think there is. For me, I think this is not an uncommon occurrence. And that's why I said I think there has to be a big educational piece that the government should take. You know, it goes back to the whole like educating our people, bringing them out of the poverty mentality. Because they can, my assumption is you're saving this man because he's the breadwinner, right?
Yeah.
Even a Christian, please, can you defend this scenario for me?
Me.
Any Christian, can you defend this scenario where this is a good scenario?
Oh, this is wrong at so many levels.
That's exactly what I mean. And I think there's an educational piece that we need around the problem with polygamous relationships, with defilement, with lack of education in a home, that you think that this is all okay. And people are going to come for me after this. But
they'll come for you. Me, they don't know where to find me. But
at Chanda on TikTok.
I'm not doing that. Should do a TikTok thing. No. When I say it's wrong at so many levels, is when these things keep occurring and you keep using the same charge to make punishment, there is a problem also with the system.
Yeah.
All right? So the system is not doing enough to deter these people.
Yeah.
If it was possible that I was the sentencing judge, the three women would go with the husband.
I
immediately.
Agree. They're before people. They're not one and three separate.
No.
All of them.
Together.
Put them all in a firing line.
Together.
Yeah.
They need to be sorted out
as one another.
Yeah, exactly. The issue of you go and tell your fellow wife that, look, let's just go and grab our husband. She believes, yeah, let's do it. We can make another baby. The man is already sick. Okay. It also follows that in general understanding, you could be sick.
They probably
either
are.
Three
they
of
just
you are sick, one of you
is them.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if the man was able to pass that disease to the daughter, biological daughter, there is a very, very big problem here. And this nonsense of bureaucratic processes of we're going to do this, it should come to an end. Castration. I like the way the word even sounds.
Yeah?
Yeah, sounds good.
I think they should be hung. Castrated first and then hung.
Aye. like
Castrate them,
and then
give them a week of pain,
yeah,
and then hang them the following Friday.
I agree. I am in total agreement with you. Our last story. I would like to define what the USAID country strategy was or is for Zambia before we get into it. Our last story is about the remarks made by the current US ambassador to Zambia. I think his name is Michael Gonzalez, regarding the donations over the last 20 years, 10, 20 years, which have amounted to nothing. According to him, they've amounted to nothing. So the definition of the USAID Zambia country strategy is USAID will partner with the Zambian government, civil society, and private sector to advance the country's self-reliance through more effective development choices and governance, enterprise-driven economic growth, and increased resilience among its vulnerable citizens.
Okay. Words.
Yeah. Yeah, but
politicians
that has to be there.
Involving stakeholders.
Yes, of course.
Big words that mean nothing.
Our stakeholders have decided, first read our mission statements and then we can get into it. If you understand it, it'll be easy. So that's the definition of the country strategy. But what he said was, despite donations from his country amounting to $8 billion over the past decade, successive governments have failed to invest and create conditions necessary for economic growth in Zambia. Aid-led developmental model has failed Zambia, both Zambia and American taxpayers.
Now, I want to ask a question.
Yes, ask.
So he is saying that the government has failed to do anything with the aid that's been given, right? That's kind of what that says?
Failed to invest and create conditions necessary for economic growth.
Now, all these freaking US aid offices that we used to see, which had all these Muzungus and everyone working in them, what were they doing? Because were they not on the ground using that very money? So is it not them that failed rather than our government that failed?
They could have put an end to it immediately. It failed to take off in the first year.
Exactly. Yeah. After the first billion, you didn't get a hint that this is not working? You thought, no, let's give them another 7 billion.
So it's failed.
Don't come at us telling us what we've done wrong. Where is your responsibility in that? Why did you give 8 billion and fail to deliver to your own American country?
Maybe the man needs to be heard to be making sense. Because remember, he's a Biden appointee. Trump hasn't sent his guy here yet. So
maybe
the Trump guy even knows. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I don't see any reason why.
Don't come here and start telling us what we've done wrong. Go to your president and tell him what you did wrong. You spent 8 billion in a country in Africa and you failed to deliver anything with that money. That's why you have Doge. Go and get fired as well amongst all those others that have been fired. Yes, Mr. Gonzalez.
Why are you looking at me?
I don't know. You are representing him. Yeah? You're channeling the spirit of Gonzalez.
Okay, the government responded.
I am not in a good mood. It must be in the not in a good mood.
It must be the juice.
It must be the juice that's giving me a new vocal position.
Yeah, is it the color of the can?
I think so. I'm feeling like blush. Anyway,
I see. So there was a response from our finance minister, Dr. Situmbeko Msokotwane. He says, so I don't know if you're going to blow your top or your bra. I don't know.
One
of the two is going to go off. The finance minister says, it is true. Okay. So let's do it.
The finance minister.
Our finance minister says, it is true. Full stop. Should I add?
Go.
It is true that the U.S. has given substantial aid to Zambia. He's very clever. He didn't say 8 billion. He just said substantial aid. to Zambia. The bulk of, according to him, the bulk of it has gone into the health sector over the past 20, 30 years.
Please show us.
Hold on.
After our last...
Yes. Hold up. After Dr. Ngoma said...
After Dr. Ngoma said, prioritize your health.
Yes. Yeah, so, however, Dr. Msokotwane says since 2022, this man has...
So, but to that point, though, I did want to mention this, that not many people will have a memory around about when the AIDS epidemic was rife in the country. And I do think that was that like the 90s, mid-90s?
Yep.
I think that was the turning point where that money used as aid did have an impact, because there was a significant level of educating people around what AIDS is, how it's spread, stopping these stupid practices of polygamy and pedophilia, sleeping with young children and all of that. They were educating people around that. Yeah. So I know that that did have an impact. We can't just quantify it now, I guess, We don't have 10 first grade hospitals to say that that's what's happened, but there was an impact in terms of us having this huge epidemic get dealt with as well. So I do agree there.
Okay, so you do agree that the bulk of that 8 billion...
Not the bulk.
That's what he says.
No, I agree that it contributed.
You agree with...
Because I don't know where they spent their money. Show me the spreadsheet, the one that you're showing Doge. Show me the spreadsheet. I can also then tell you where the numbers are working and where they're not.
We don't have Doge here.
I know, you need Doge.
We've got the presidential...
We need Doge.
You know what they call it?
Our ministry needs to be cut by a third.
Let me tell you what they call it. Presidential Delivery Unit.
Oh,
that's
all
what
right.
they call it.
What have they delivered? That's another topic we're going to cover.
I have no idea, but there's been praise. The young lady, the young Shan, if they are doing this, they're very good. I don't know what they're doing.
I think as individuals, there are some good people, yes, that are standout characters that are working hard. But in terms of the grand scheme of things, what did you deliver? That's what we want.
All right, so that is what Dr. Msokotwane has said in response to the comments made by...
the finance minister, who was unable to really account for how 8 billion has been spent.
No, he says between
the
last
bulk
decade.
of... No, that's not. It's really not. There's money that's been spent in lots of other areas, and he could have touched on that as well. As the finance minister, you should know how to drill down deeper into the numbers.
But it's, for me, I agree with you. These are questions that are easy to answer. The man says 8 billion, and he says last decade. So 1 year is 1 billion. What has happened each year for that billion that he's saying was donated?
Does it account for all the Hiluxes? No, you told me they're not Hiluxes anymore. What are they?
The ones they buy.
The cars that they're buying now, yes.
If you're a minister, it has to be a Toyota Land Cruiser VX.
Which is how much?
A lot of money. It's more than the NVIDIA chip.
Does it work harder than a VITS? Can the minister not go from his house to the ministry in a VITS?
You know what?
I think we should do a campaign. Like the next ministers should all be issued just a VITS.
The problem is not the minister.
Oh, it's who?
The minister. The problem is their boss.
The president?
Of course.
But when the president came in, he said, I don't want these nice cars. I don't want this jet.
Do you know what Traore has done in the last 2 years in power?
What has he done?
He has not taken any increase in salary. He still earns his captain's salary, not the presidential salary. He's a captain in the army. He earns less than his generals. He earns less than his prime minister. But guess what? He is working.
Exactly.
He says
we are seeing industries.
Things are changing. So, Achani, put your mouth where your money where your mouth is. It's easy. We know those promises of we're not buying new this, we're not buying that. No. Don't make pronouncements when you don't know how government works. Period.
Well, no, make pronouncements and see them through. Otherwise, don't be upset when people show you up.
Siri wants to talk to me. I don't understand.
Anyway, so.
Let me mute Siri. Yeah. So, yeah, it also prompted the Donald Trump administration to review this, because now, like you are saying, they've been looking and they've decided we're shutting down all this because it's not making sense.
If it's not doing anything, what are we doing it for?
So if this man says it's affecting both Zambian and American taxpayers, Zambians did not contribute to any of that money. The money comes from America. And that money, that's why you see huge billboards saying donated by them people.
Can I do a little example? Because I feel like a lot of this is missing sometimes when people explain things. And I'm doing it off the cuff, so I can't fully explain it. So I used to work at the RSPCA in the UK, and RSPCA is the Royal Society of Shanshan. Basically,
for animals.
Animals, yeah. So pets, it was if you abandoned your dog or cat or whatever, our organization would take in those animals, rehabilitate them, and get them rehomed.
Yes.
Or if someone wasn't able to look after their animals and so on, so they would bring those animals to us. The RSPCA, being supported by the royal family, was one of the biggest charities that was there in the UK.
Yeah, it still is.
Maybe not, but it's sizable. But it's no longer. They're not the patrons. They're not the patrons anymore. Yeah, so it has changed. So I used to work at the RSPCA, which is like the Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. And the RSPCA takes in abandoned animals and stray animals and no humans.
A few stray humans.
And if they need rehabilitating, they rehabilitate them, then they get them rehomed and so on. So the point I was trying to make, which I'm also trying to remember, is one of the things that, because we were supported by the royal family, yes, so it was sponsorship money. So you would donate your money and so on. So what would happen was that we were one of the largest companies that had donations. So we could have received like £15 million worth of donations in a year.
Yep.
And obviously they account for it and everything. But what started happening was, but you're making all this money, but where are you spending this money?
Mm-hmm.
So they started to get quite a lot of scrutiny around where their spending was. And so obviously they'd be like, no, we spend it in the right places. An example is when I was working there, they implemented a new computer system. And nobody wanted to use this new system. We got, was it Bain? I think it was Bain and Co. to come in and help us implement this computer system. Why we needed the top of the top companies to come and help us implement the system is the questions I would ask. Could an average company not have done exactly the same thing? Yeah. Why do we need to pay a company that's the top of the top? Because their costs would be way higher than an average company, which probably had the same skill set, maybe a bit less. But we're just looking after dogs and cats.
Nembushi.
Why? Nembushi. Nengombe. So we don't need it to be like, like that major. So after a while, we had to start explaining where our money went. So they had to analyze where all the money would go. So what was received last year, where was it spent, and so on and so forth. So I worked in the marketing department, and we had to justify that for every £1 of donation that was received, we spent 70p on marketing. And that's £1. So if it was 15 million that we received, exactly.
70p. So the 30 pence is what goes into...
Exactly. Now the dogs got 30p. Mm-hmm. So now that's the thing. People started to say, wait, I'm not paying for you to do marketing. I'm paying for you to look after the dogs.
Yeah.
And so the reason I'm telling this story is the same thing has to happen here. If Mr. Gonzalez wants to tell us where they gave us 8 billion and we wasted it, in fact, they had to justify where that money was going when they went back to whichever president, Obama, Trump, Biden, they had to justify where the money was going. So what were they saying when they went back?
Well, that is the reason Doge was created.
It's one of the reasons. Not charities. It was overall. No. It's actually because it was so woke. Government the organization spending was crazy.
Yeah, it's like, look, as long as you got the name US at the beginning, we need to move in.
And it wasn't just the USA that Doge was created. It's the whole government.
Yeah, it is. This is the whole government. It's just that this is a component of the whole system that they decided to check while they're checking others. It's just taken prominence because it's all over the world. USAID is all over the world.
Everywhere, exactly.
Yes. There are things that they're doing internally which are none of our business regarding Doge. But this one, I think the ambassador here he didn't do too good. Because at the end of the day, it's going to expose the problems they have in their own house.
I like that he highlighted what the problem is with Zambia is ask the right questions. Okay, so 8 billion was spent. By who and where?
No, they will have a...
It's not just by the Zambians, it's by the Americans. They didn't come and just give you a wad of cash and leave. They had conditions for all that money. So how much of that money did they give to government?
How much of that money went into healthcare exactly? Because he says most of that money was spent on healthcare. And
don't say most. If you've got 8 billion, I want to know that 4.2 billion went into healthcare. Don't say most. Give me actual numbers.
The man has been on TV not to come and cite a few numbers. He knows he's going to an interview and he says, well, I can't give you the actual figures.
He can.
Or something near what
when you are interviewed in the UK, all of that is scrutinized. We have constant spreadsheets and graphs to show the impact of the work. You can't create a graph unless you have data. Exactly. Where's the data?
Yeah. So that is the biggest story I think was trending in the last week. The issue of having been given $8 billion in the last decade and it having failed to produce any results that were tangible or tangibly able to benefit the Zambians and the American taxpayers.
No, I think a few people were sent to school abroad on that money. There were a few Hiluxes, there's a few farms that were bought by people. Yeah? I always like it when people say, they live in Kablonga. I don't know, I've got a farm in Chisamba and a farm in Shanshan. And I'm like, how on government salary do you do that?
Look, 80% of the people who work for government should be in jail.
Are you doing one of my stats? Tanya's made up stats.
Yeah, Tanya's made up. According to Tanya's made up stats, 80% of the gentlemen and fine ladies, even those chiffon-wearing ladies, in government should be in jail because they can't justify for the wealth they have.
Yeah.
The properties they have, most of it cannot be traced through a mortgage, a loan, a bank facility of sorts. But that's an argument for another day, isn't it?
That's our corruption commission who needs to work harder.
Aye, that's where you want to go.
No, let's move on. Let's move on to the softer topic that we were actually going to cover.
The main topic of discussion today.
Which actually ties in.
It is interlinked with everything that we're talking about today. It is connected. Today we're discussing mediocrity. Should I spell it?
People are like, hey, mediocrity?
Mediocrity. MEDIOCRITY.
What is mediocrity?
So average, below Fidia. Why do I fit?
Siri, what is mediocrity?
You're just like.
You're just average.
Siri. Siri. Achan Siri. What is mediocrity? Siri is pissed off with me.
Hey Siri.
She's here. Hey Siri. What is mediocrity?
I think our Siris are clashing.
Hey
Siri, what is mediocrity? It's gone there. Mine has gone there. Okay.
Hey Siri. What?
Okay, no joy. We'll put it on the screen.
What
is mediocrity?
To do that, you'll need to be online.
But Siri, Navo. Siri, you're fired. Doge is going to remove you.
You're part of the 8 billion.
Yeah. We built Siri. And have nothing to show.
Not to worry. We knew Siri might perform.
So underperform. Might be mediocre.
Yes. We have a soft definition. You might want to spice it up. But mediocrity could be in a person that is not very good at something, or not very good at anything in particular, or something that is not very good. These people are just mediocre. Not good at anything, accept anything that comes their way. They don't question stuff. They live with what comes their way and say, look, I got my 2 cents, so that's good.
So why are we covering mediocrity?
Because we live around it every day. Every damn day. This,
What do you mean?
in fact, the reason why we're doing this is because of the service that we get that is crap and the response to crisis in the country, which is not given priority when you know it's a crisis situation. Mediocrity between you and I has covered service delivery and government delivery itself. Today, you are trying to order from
Yango?
No, directly from Nando's, I think at first.
No.
It was
Yango at first. Then Tigmo.
Oh, you went through all
Then
that.
directly. Yes.
So they
I
give us.
spent 30 minutes wasting my time.
Yes. That is one aspect of mediocrity.
Let's just add context to that.
Yes, okay, you do that.
We were filming. We did an episode. Then we took a break. So we're getting some lunch. So on Yango, I ordered 3 meals, 3 of their offers, their promo meals.
Yes.
But because the order comes to more than 500 kwacha, I can't place the order. What nonsense is that?
So is that mediocre?
No, it's incompetence, which is mediocre. If you can't make your app work, if I wanted to order 10,000 kwachas worth of food, why are you stopping me?
Okay, the reason she's pissed off is because it's not the first time we've tried to order. It's not the first day today we've tried to do this. We tried before. Remember, Nate? I think
You want to come and you're telling me, oh, we do food delivery. No, you do it badly.
Yeah.
I should order, 3 times? And I can't order 3 times. I can only order once. So what? So I can eat and you two could have watched me eating? Would that be better?
Uh-huh.
Huh?
Okay.
Or we order 3 times. Is that not just stupid?
Okay, but you tell me incidences of mediocrity that you've experienced.
Okay, I think a lot of the times...
We are removing, we are done with the Yango.
No, I haven't finised with Yango. Yeah. Yango, please call me because we're about to have beef here. When you order a Yango and the Yango driver phones, Nate is like, and he goes, hello? You go, hello? Yes, madam. Yango. And I go, yes, you phoned me. What do you want? And I've said many times to the drivers, you're not the only person who's phoning me. So how do I know who you are? Tell me who you are. Greet me professionally. Hello, madam. This is Mlenga phoning from Yango. You've placed an order for a ride. Is your location accurate? Tell me the information.
Where are you going?
I spoke to this one guy and I said exactly this to him. I said, why don't you explain the whole process? No, you're right. You know you're right. And I said, at the end of it, you will feel like a professional driver and I will feel like I've had a professional ride.
Yeah, I agree.
So the mediocrity is in assuming, I know why you're phoning me.
Kaya have said, hello, Yango.
Hello? Not even sometimes. Yes, Yango. And you're just like, oh my God.
I don't think the optics for Yango are looking good. Yeah, they're all over the social media, general media. They're looking good.
Well, it's their own marketing. They're spending a lot of money on their marketing, which is also pretty mediocre, but that's another story.
But no, we're not going to go there. But the actual work on the ground is not good. Some of them are unkempt.
Yes.
And some of them really piss you off.
Why is this car dirty?
Yeah.
You know you're driving today. Why is your car dirty?
But not only that, even their behavior is bad. I had a younger guy driving and on the phone throughout.
Oh no, I don't stand for that.
And I'm like, what's going on?
I say, can you get off the phone, please?
Yeah. He's driving, he's got a phone on his...
And another one.
On his doo-doo, and then the other one is in his hand. And he's doing things together and whatnot. I'm like, this guy. This training that they're getting, we don't know which customer service company is teaching them. But Yango, if you're listening, you can hire us. We can teach your people nicely. You know you can afford us. They can afford us.
No, they can't afford me.
They can afford us.
I'm afraid not.
They can.
You maybe, but not me.
20 pounds, they can afford us.
Nada.
Yeah, but enough of that. Yango, we think, is one of the companies that is giving a mediocre service, and they need
It
to step it
started
up.
good, but they have to be careful not to just dive into being mediocre. They have to maintain their standards. I do like that when Yango, something happens, they do update the apps, but they focus too much on what they can do on the app and not what they can do as the service.
Service is
And
correct.
that's the bit that they also need to work on.
I'm also thinking part of the mediocrity we're getting from Yango is Nate ordered a taxi. He lives in Salama Park. He ordered a Yango.
Are you going to give his address?
Of course.
For all the ladies that want to know where Nate
Yes,
is.
yes.
I said, no.
So Nate orders a Yango. I order a Yango. I'm in Kablonga. We literally arrive at the same time. What is that crap? I expect Nate to order at 8:30 to come after me because I ordered at
Yes.
8:20, 10 minutes before, and I'm nearer here. But these guys don't want to pick up my ride because maybe it's 25 kwacha, 26 kwacha. But the guys outside also need to pick up real quick because guess what? It's a bit farther.
I've had the same, like, it's too far, madam.
No, but it's farther.
another one.
So, no, if you're in Kablonga, why do you want to go and get a guy in Salama Park and bring him back here? I'm talking about the people in that area who need to pick him up real quick and bring him here.
Yeah.
They'll make more money than the guy who's going to pick me up.
I agree.
But the service for Yango is crap. I'm not hiding anything. It's just that, according to some of the drivers, they are saying that there's too many of them. So the quality.
No, I have to say I don't agree.
No, according to some of the drivers.
There's been less drivers at the moment. My Yangos used to be picked up like within 1 to 2 minutes. Now I'm waiting 7 to 9 minutes because there's no drivers in the proximity.
There's no money in the proximity.
Well, there's no in Kablonga. There's no money.
They don't want.
No, I think there's less people driving for Yango now.
No, there's a whole lot of them.
Don't forget, Yango used to give a really good commission incentive, and I think they removed that commission incentive. So the drivers are like, "What's the point in us doing this?" So they're losing drivers.
I do agree about the complaint.
Yeah.
But Yango is just one of them. The other ones are Zamtel, MTN, and Airtel.
Yeah.
Look, you will try to sue me. You won't win. It's a fact. It's a fact. The service that you are getting from MTN and Airtel is really, really bad. The service that we're getting from Osaka Water and Sewage Company is bad. I can read you text messages of, we are down because we don't have this. If you complain to Zesco, they tell you, we don't cut power to those guys. Because they know. And in fact, even if Zesco cut power at the Osaka Water Sewage Treatment Plant, why don't you have your own power? Why don't you have your own gensets? They don't do that.
If private companies have to do that, why shouldn't you?
Yeah. And every other day, sorry for bad water supply, erratic water supply, we are doing treatment. We've got a maintenance treatment plan going on. It doesn't work like that. So I think as a country, we have decided to accept mediocrity, and that has translated in us having the worst leadership ever in terms of governance. And across the board, government employees have picked that up.
But let's speak on that one a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I'll give you my frustration.
Yes.
I work in an industry where I have to be the best at what I am in order for me to get the most money that I can earn, right? I go and I get interviewed and everyone's like, no, she's really good, right? I'm not going to get that if I'm average.
No.
So in order for me to do more and get more money at my next job, I have to perform. So once I've done my performance in this job, I move on to another job. Here, I get the impression people don't move jobs. So you get a job because your uncle or your aunt or your mother or your father managed to get you a job.
Or you got it yourself.
But when it comes to you doing something above and beyond, or even using initiative, you're told, sit back down. This is not what you're here for.
You've just joined us. There's a way you just
come on in, stop it. And so you move from wanting to be good at your job and being passionate to simply receiving a paycheck.
Reporting for work.
Yes.
Yep.
And I feel like this, I didn't know this, but this seems really strong in this country. And I think it's really sad. And I feel like people like Nate's generation, who are really passionate and they want to do different things and they want to do good things, their hearts are going to be crushed when they hit the employment, when they actually start to get jobs, because they won't be given that opportunity.
Nate's generation is quite, it's like the ones they call the born free in South Africa, the ones who have no idea about what happened regarding apartheid.
Right, exactly.
All right. Their fight against apartheid is not apparent because they did not live through that.
It's no different to my son when we've had a conversation around racist people.
Yes.
And him with a group of his friends, right? And they're all white. And he tries to act like he's one of them. And I said to him one time, I said, you know what? If you run into racists, you'll be the first one that they get. It won't be your friends.
Yep.
I said, don't deny what you are. Be aware and be free to be one of your other friends' lads. But don't forget what you are, because other people will remind you of that. Yeah. So there's a bit where you have to recognize where people are going to bring you down, like the born free thing, right? They have a different attitude and being. But when you're in a work environment, you need to be able to still have a spirit. And I feel like a lot of people here, their spirits have been crushed. They can't be any more than mediocre. I was talking to somebody really interesting at NAPSA. I think she's great. I think she has a great characteristic and personality, and all she kept saying, Tanya, you just don't know. You don't understand what we have to go through. You don't know the bureaucracy. And I said, you know what? Just keep fighting. We literally were battling back and forth, But at the end of it, I said, you need to keep going, And even if they fire you, please just move on to somewhere else. But do not become one of the many who just goes, let me just resign myself to my shitty job and take my money and my Hilux.
The Hilux.
That's why you keep quiet.
Can you tell?
Because there's a Hilux.
Tell the listener there the reason you hate the Hilux for real. People don't understand why you don't like the Hilux.
It's an extremely expensive car.
No, go back.
Which bit?
No, go back. How much are Zambia? How expensive are cars in Zambia?
Double the price of the price in the UK. Double the price.
I went to...
And you have a mediocre job, but you have a Hilux. How? Me, I go in Yangos.
Well, you get paid a lot of money.
My mediocre Yangos.
You get paid a lot of money and you use mediocre transport.
Right. Because I want more money for other things.
All right, so let's take it a notch up. I'm going to ask you about African leadership in terms of mediocrity.
Yes.
Can we explore that?
Can I tell you one of my biggest irritations?
Yes.
I was watching an interview when ECL, I think he was in power a year or two, and he was being interviewed by a South African news company, and I've mentioned this to you before. He was being interviewed by a South African news company. And so the guy is there, doing his interview thing. So, Mr. Lungu, you said that you were going to do da-da-da-da. So what are you going to do while you're in power? And he goes, not much.
What?
I was like, what the fuck? Not much?
Head of state.
So if you are not going to do much, what's everyone else going to do?
President, finish the sentence. If you as the president.
If you as the president have that attitude, not much. Who behind you is going to do any more than you?
That is why it's difficult for you to name top 5.
I'm going to find that interview and we can slip that in.
No, we'll do that. Not much on here. But it's how you understand your people. You don't have that kind of high regard for your citizens. You can say anything you want because no one will challenge you. People will challenge you through the usual innuendo, rumor mongering and whatnot, but to confront you and say, boss, what's going on here? We are where we are right now because some people are telling us we have a 10-point plan. When we take over government, we have a 10-point plan. This is what we're going to do. Others were even telling us, plug a canal here, turn the water this side. There's a whole lot of...
What?
I need to wusa. Yes, baby, I need to wusa. But because of that, it's difficult for you to name 5 high-performing ministers in this government.
We tried. We failed.
You failed to perform even in the last government. Who was really working as a minister? It's difficult. Because one, we have mediocre leadership which cannot discipline non-performing ministers, non-performing PSs, non-performing directors who are driving what cars?
Toyota Hilux or V8?
There you go.
Yeah, I'm
It
learning.
is a problem, and we're going to go on and on. The worst thing is that we can't do anything about it until every 5 years. We don't have the cojones, for lack of a nice word, to challenge these things. The other day, somebody was in Parliament. She appeared before the Public Accounts Committee, and all she did was yes, yes, yes. My guest on radio the other day was like, do you know the annoyance I get from... She even goes back to office to have my coffee, which I pay for from my taxes. He was as annoyed as, a honey badger. but you get these points where, like... So this person, no suspension.
Nope.
No discipline, no charge, nothing. Public Accounts Committee says you did this and you did that, and what? Their job as Parliament, the defined way of doing things is you bring these people, you ask them questions, they don't account for it, you leave it at that. That's all. Mediocrity. How long does it take for you to get a passport in this country?
Dude, I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting.
The police can't be a police service. They have to force things from you. They can't talk to you.
Do you know, I came back one night and a friend of mine dropped me off and her brakes went funny on her car. So she then hit the post I have out here. So she hits the post and this is like 4 a.m. The pillar here. Okay. She hit the pillar because the brakes weren't working. So she just went straight into the pillar. Anyway. So the next day, she takes the car to her mechanic. Yeah. And then the mechanic says to her, you can claim this on your insurance. So she had to fix her light and I think her bumper or something. Yeah. So he says, you can claim this on your insurance. So she's like, oh, okay. So what do I need to do to claim it on my insurance? Oh, you need a police report. Okay, fine. She goes to the police station. I need to get a police report. Okay. You need to show us where it happened. We need to go and have a look at it so we can do you a police report. Okay, fine. She phones me. Tanya, I need to come. They need to do a police report. I said, okay, no problem. I'll meet you at home, blah, 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 blah. I arrive. They arrive. She's got the lady in the police car. And the police lady is looking nice. The hair is looking nice. The nails are looking nice. So she looks at the place. She looks me up and down a little bit. I'm like, okay, whatever.
The weave was looking okay.
Huh?
The weave was looking
Her weave was looking okay. Her nails were looking very nice. So then she does whatever she needs to do for her police report. They leave. My friend then contacts me and she goes, can you believe she asked me for 2,500 pounds, 500 kwacha for her to then do the police report for me. And the fixing of the car was something like 3,000 or 4,000. And it was like, what is your logic that you think you can ask for that money that is more or less equivalent to the actual price of what it's going to cost to fix the car? But what that woman did was assess my friend and assess me and said, these people have got money. Let me get some money from these people. So my point here on mediocrity is do your fucking job. Come and do the report, hand it in, let the person go and do what they need to do to get their car fixed. Don't add yourself to the game here. You were not a part of the plan when the accident happened. Wasangwa poshan na mala yobe na nemishishishobe.
Fake hair, fake nails. Yeah. I like it when you're pissed.
I was so angry. I was like, this story one day is coming out.
Why wasn't she reported?
Who do you report to? Who should we have reported to?
The same police. We are extorting me.
It was not me. This is her passing it on to me. And I'm getting angry on her behalf. And she's like, it's not worth it. She had to just go via the mechanic and she just paid. So now the whole point of having insurance, absolute waste of time.
Yeah. All right. I'll flip it. In terms of customer service, listen to this. Listen to this. I don't know why, but sometimes it feels like the people rendering a service hate you, or it's
Yo.
like they're doing you a favor. When did you last encounter this? You go, get to the reception, she's filing her nails, she's on the damn phone.
I'll be honest. I think for me, because I tend to be quite friendly, so I move them out of that nonsense. And you are very similar. You befriend them so that they don't give you like an evil look that they give you all the time. Every time there's a look they give you, and you just know, she's assessing me. She's trying to work out what she should be like. And then once I dive into Bemba Nyanja, you're just a normal person. And then we become friends, And so I've worked I don't want to encounter somebody like that. But probably the last time I did that I remember was at the Zambian embassy in the UK. And this woman literally was filing her nails. And I was just like, this bitch needs to be fired. You're in the UK and you're trying to give a service like that.
Zambia in the UK.
I was like, wake it in, kumushkwen.
Like she's doing a favor. Oh gosh. Yeah. My friend here is very annoyed. He said, honestly, it's ridiculous. Even if you give bad review or express your displeasure with this service, 9 out of 10, nothing on the
Then they just fight you as well. Some of the restaurants, when you put down a restaurant, I don't agree with how everyone does. The people in that restaurant, they're rubbish. Don't, as a restaurant owner, start fighting with the person who's given you a bad review. I used to work in a hotel, and
where haven't you worked?
And I'm only 21. Anyway, I used to work in a hotel in Oxford, and it was a 4-star hotel, very nice. It was a boutique hotel. We had like 20 bedrooms, and we had, famous people staying there, Kylie Minogue, Will Smith. Like, we've had a lot of people stay there. So there was a level of class that we had. Sorry, what was the point that you made that I was going to answer?
And honestly, it's ridiculous. Even if you give a bad review, express your displeasure.
Review. Okay.
Yes.
Now, the manager of the hotel was a South African guy, very nice guy, gay guy, and we got on really well. And one time, somebody stayed at the hotel, and where I know these people are just taking the piss. Your food is rubbish, the accommodation is rubbish. And I'm like, Will Smith has stayed here. Don't tell me our hotel is rubbish. So now this is my pride coming through. So I go to the manager. These guys, they want to, they want their money back. And he said, okay. And I said, no, we've done a good job. No, we're not.
That was you saying no?
No, I said, no, we've done a good job. We've done what we're supposed to. And he said, no, give them a free weekend. Give them a voucher for a free. I was mad. But what he taught me was, it's the customer is right. It wasn't that the customer is right. The point is, if your customer is disgruntled, or even if they're pretending, the whole Michelle Obama, we rise up, let them fall, right? We'll still show you that we're good. Here's a free night stay. Because it's up to you to come back and stay. You don't have to come back and stay.
If it's crap, you won't come back.
Exactly.
You really don't like it.
But we have done our bit to appease you. Free food, free accommodation, and another free stay. Whew, I was mad. But here, do you know I found hair in my food at a restaurant, and they didn't even give me the money off. I still paid the bill. Hair in my food, and I still paid the bill.
Darling, you can't order food at the salon. You don't do that.
I was not at the salon. I was at a chain restaurant here that's very well known.
Oh. Did you complain?
I did. I showed the lady. I said, look at this. Madam, I'm sorry. Do you want another one?
Ine at Meraki.
Oh, you're even naming
Let
and
me
shaming.
tell you.
Name and shame.
Me at Meraki.
Which one?
They brought me new food.
They replaced.
I was like, oh gosh, what's going on here? New food. That time my office was in Long Acres. At their cost. They brought me new food. They didn't even get the old food. I said, here's the old food. So now I can give it somebody else or throw it away. That was a good customer service.
Exactly.
Here, it happened again. I saw something. They grabbed the food. Meraki Central Mall. They grabbed the food, went and sorted. Whether they fixed it and brought it back or gave me a whole new portion, I don't know.
Exactly.
But the response was very good. Meraki did a good job. And we'll say kudos to you. But for the rest, the problem is Avanabo. Yes.
Yeah.
They think they're the only special customers we have.
Yeah.
It is terrible. And I think restaurants need to up their game in terms of that. I think this new one at Kabulongamo had a problem at when it was Valentine's.
Oh, Essence.
Yes.
There was a huge drama.
Yes.
So Valentine's 2025, right? People have booked. So there's a particular guy on TikTok, and I'll see if I can find the footage. He's booked to have Valentine's with his beau, his love, and they arrive, and he's booked via the website. They've recently opened at that point, I think, and he books via the website.
Yeah.
He arrives, and then he's asked, but did you pay? Did you pay a deposit?
Did they tell him that he should pay?
Nope, because he would have done if it was there on the website. So they basically leave them queuing for something like an hour and a half or something. And there's just constant issues. Some people had booked via the website. Some people had booked direct. Some people had paid deposit. The point is their systems were not very well in place. And now, but you don't treat the customer as though you're the one who's in the wrong. It's my Valentine's Day. I'm trying to show off to this woman and, make her feel good. And we're standing in a queue and she's in her heels. And we should be standing around. No. You deal with that problem after. You say to the person, so sorry about the situation. We found a table for you. Please come over here. Deal with the problem. Then you talk to your staff and your management. That was the worst Valentine's we've ever done. We're never doing that again. How are we fixing this problem for next year?
I agree. I agree 100%. But unfortunately...
Unfortunately, it's time.
Is it? As in time.
Yes.
Nothing like 2 minutes.
You've had 5 minutes extra.
Yeah. I was on a roll up. I was going to do kung fu.
You see, we know. Like, should we move our episodes from an hour to an hour and a half so that Chanda can get the full experience?
I'm being bullied here by two Africans. They have nothing to say, Bena. They have nothing to say.
We are efficient. We belong to Doge. Efficiency. The episode is an hour. You've hit an hour. Let's go.
They belong to Elon Musk.
No, Doge, not Elon Musk.
Doge. It's Elon Musk.
Doge, not Elon.
Elliot Musk. No, if we're done, then we can wrap it up. There's a lot to talk about in terms of mediocrity.
There is so much that we could go into.
We'll do
But
this.
I think one of the things we haven't touched on is the opportunity as a result of the mediocrity, And I think just to toot our own horn, every guest that we have had has said, this is a great setup that you guys have here. And the reason it's a great setup is because you and I have constantly said, how do we do this better? Yeah. How do we make this better? Okay, that fucked up last time. How do we improve this for the next time? And so that's why we are getting good praise. I mean, our episodes, people might pick one or two things out of it, but you don't know what's going on behind the scenes to try and get it to be as good as possible. And hopefully people can see that actually the two episodes look like they're getting better.
This one would have been awesome if they let me finish, but they don't want me to finish.
So it's going to be mediocre.
Before I sign off, I'm going to tell you, we're coming back with this subject, but we're going to have a guest who's going to give us their perspective of how they've suffered mediocrity and how they've tried to help the state of affairs, whether it's government or private situations. We haven't talked about mediocrity in relationships.
Or if you think you can talk on this subject, reach out to us.
Yes.
Yeah. Because sometimes we're looking for people, but our network is still small. The
network is small, and also we really don't want to call everyone who's on any other podcast.
And we don't want ministers.
Yeah. Well, ministers will talk to you next year. Yeah.
After the elections.
Yeah, even you can come and lie to us that, I'll do this, and, say, but you didn't. Why do you need another 5 years to lie when in the last 5 years you were lying? On that note, from me, a plus.
It is.